You're listening to Bring Me the Axe. I'm Brian White. I'm one half of this morbid equation, and I'm joined by my brother and co-host, Dave White. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Thank you for asking. I am weary. We have new neighbors upstairs.
Oh, no. Did they follow you from Somerville?
Well, not quite, but maybe they have a pet. I don't know. Maybe a hoofed animal. But when they are not clomping around, pacing back and forth, it seems that they only stop to put on some extremely bass-heavy dance music or perhaps some white blues.
So they're up there doing some kind of gigantic boot dance?
Yep. And I don't know what to do about it.
You know what you do is you take all your speakers and you point them upwards and you just give them that Italian bossa nova.
Yeah.
Take
this Italian disco music.
Just a little. Give them that Maurizio and his brother DeAngelis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, listeners, if you've been following along this whole spooky season, I've been hiding out and jumping out and giving guests the booga booga at a haunted attraction up here in New Hampshire called Haunted Overload. And I've been giving you guys the updates, what it's like to sort of put on a costume and smear black eye makeup on and all that. I've learned a lot. I've had a really, really good time. Let me tell you something about the one thing that I was really unprepared for, and it is the sheer volume of grown-ass adults who lose control of their bladders at this event.
Listen, there's a thing that happens as you get older. Things start slowing down. They don't work as well as they used to. Don't judge these people.
Because, here's the thing. On average, about 2,000 people go through a night. And we all kind of gather up at the end as we're exhausted and we're drinking our hot cider, getting ready to go home, and we all kind of tally up the total. How many people?
That is folksy. That's very folksy ending to the day.
Well, it's very quaint. But we all sort of trade stories and our favorite scares, and I get personally 2, maybe 3 a night of people who just piss themselves. And how do I know this? Because they loudly announce it to their friends.
What are you going to do, though? What are you going to do when that happens? You can't pretend it didn't happen.
I know, you're going to walk out of this. You're going to get into the light, and your friends are going to go, what the hell? You may as well get out in front of it,
You got to lean into that right away.
Yep. Yeah, so, boy, I'm just that scary, apparently.
What a way to end the day. I get high and watch Tubi.
Yeah. That's
what I do with my
hide
life.
in a dark hallway underneath a gigantic 50-foot pumpkin, and I jump out and go, or I if it's a long crowd, like a long line of people, I got to do the crowd work and, kind of do the insult comedy dog stuff. But
now, will the pumpkin still work in December? Or do you need to change up your routine?
Oh, no.
I just assume they're going to do this forever.
The pumpkin is there. He's there year round, man. And they're gonna. He's like the new crown jewel, because as you walk up in the queue line, they got to keep you entertained because the line is usually very long. So like you wind through the forest and you see all the big like sculptures and shit that they've put, and then you come around the corner and there is a gigantic 50-foot pumpkin, with me in a tunnel underneath it under the black light,
like normal.
Yeah, like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it's hard work, but I enjoy what I do.
So things are going well for us.
Yeah, making people pee their pants. Grown-ass adults peeing their pants on a Saturday night in New Hampshire. Oh, boy.
You're not the only one doing that on a Saturday night in New Hampshire, I assure you.
Oh, no, it's a dark place that I live in. So we practically grew up in neighborhoods, video stores, and the steady diet of utter garbage that those shops provided us with continues unabated to this day. There's no one else I enjoy chopping it up with more about trashy movies than Dave. Just before we get into it, here's a little housekeeping. If you want to keep up with us between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod. Dave's over there at that Queer Wolf. Mm-hmm. I urge you to follow us. It's fun. It's a good time. We're giving you a little something, giving you little recommendations every day to horror movies you can watch during October and all that shit. It's fun.
You got 3 more. I got nothing for November.
Yeah. You're on your own in November, guys.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm also on TikTok, doing them dances.
Yeah, he's out there doing the Roger Rabbit, doing the Running Man. I remembered those 2 the other day. I was like, 2 more dances. I knew it. I knew I had them in there.
Cold getting stupid in my room.
There you go. Cold lamping.
Yep. Look us up by name over there. And if you don't know, we have another show called 99 Cent Rental. With that show is on a bit of a hiatus for the month of October while we cover a month's worth of horror movie heavy hitters. Our last episode is a look at the Tobe Hooper Steven Spielberg jam Poltergeist with guest Sean Abley. Mm-hmm. And this week caps off the entire affair. 99 Cent Rental will be back next week, but you'll have to listen to the end of this episode to find out what that movie is. Give you a little incentive.
Mm-hmm. That's the only reason people are listening. God, I can't wait to know what it is.
Right. You can also contact us directly at bringmetheaxepod@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestions. Do let us know if there's a movie that you love and like to hear us give it the business. And also, if you would like to support us on Patreon, you can look us up over there at patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. There's a couple of tiers you can join there. Subscribers at the $5 a month tier can look forward to our bi-weekly X-Files rewatch pod. Do You Think I'm Spooky? As well as
so far, I'm focused mostly on outfits and wigs when it comes to that show.
You lost me. What are you talking about?
Well, Do You Think I'm Spooky?
Are you just trying to be spooky?
No, that's what I'm thinking about.
Are we? So is it a wig and all that?
Jesus, get your life together.
Slow tonight. This is unreal. I'm so sorry.
And nothing is more hilarious than when someone is dead tired.
You also get my bi-weekly DJ show, Radio Free Haddonfield, on the weeks when Do You Think I'm Spooky is off. You can expect a surprising mixtape of everything from rock to disco to punk over there. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. Lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube now. Search us by name and subscribe if you prefer to consume your podcast that way. And you'd be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So, do it.
Dear God, this preamble is just getting longer and longer.
And if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor, give the episode a like and leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Just want to get that all out of the way right at the top of the show because, hey, Dave.
Yes?
These people look familiar over here.
Oh, you talking about our guests?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, they're really, I feel like they're more than just guests.
They're kind of the
it's more than
fifth
a feeling,
and sixth
really.
Beatle?
They are indeed that. They are, in fact, the very funny hosts of one of my favorite podcasts, Weekly Horror, and two people that I love dragging into our bullshit. It's Jonny Atkinson and Aileen Clark. Hello, friends, and welcome.
Hello.
Hey. Welcome back to the Meat Grinder. God, we have subjected you guys to some real fucking tests of patience on this show, haven't we?
Absolutely not. No, it's been a joy every step of the way. No,
absolutely.
It's been incredible. I'll be forever grateful for, what the fuck was that movie called?
X-Ray.
X-Ray.
Oh my God, the pumps,
Just to
the
show how
shoes.
Yeah. X-Ray.
X-Ray.
Yeah.
What a
Classic.
delight. Guys, thank you so much for having us again. We're thrilled to talk about this absolute classic.
Some may call it that, sure.
A stone cold hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
God.
boy.
So, you've probably read the episode title already, but just in case you haven't, let's give them a taste of what we're watching tonight. Here's a little taste.
You don't really know much about Halloween. Halloween, the barriers will be down between the real and the unreal. And the dead might be looking in. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red. Halloween, the children.
You happen to know anything about this Cochran?
All I can tell you, mister, is watch out. He's watching you, friend, I guarantee you that.
Trick or treat.
Hey, Mr. Cochran, just what is the final process?
Fellas, I was just kidding.
Witchcraft. To us, it was a way of controlling our environment.
Hey!
Where are they taking her?
They're taking her to the factory.
I want a mask. Can I have a mask?
Just what I had in mind for you, little buddy. Why, Cochran? Why? Do I need a reason?
I've got nothing here to indicate there was ever a body at all.
Operator, this is an emergency.
I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on the children. I'm glad you'll be able to watch it.
You've got to believe me.
They're going to kill us. All of us. Stop it!
Halloween. The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween.
Stop it!
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the night no one comes home.
These whispers that were happening.
I don't care for that.
That trailer is like plang, plang. Like it's trying to
but then
kill
like
you.
Creepy whispering behind it is a little.
Whispering was horrible.
That was creepy. I honestly was like, Brian, stop. You're creeping me
What I
out.
thought too.
Stop it.
I thought it was you guys.
Nope. It's just a little trick of the trade there in old Hollywood town.
Also, we don't need to talk about the movie because that was the entire film.
That was
trailer
the
whole
you know
thing.
What? Front to back in order. That is a trailer that was and you could tell that when they cut that trailer, they were like, "Yeah, I don't know if this movie's gonna do so hot, so we may as well just give it to them all up front."
Yeah.
Oh my God, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, you guys.
Whoa.
So last Halloween, our entire October series was Halloween. We did. We did Halloween 2018, the David Gordon Green one. We did Rob Zombie's Halloween. We had a guest, Heather Wixson, came on and did that one. And God, we still kind of feel bad about that one. I feel like she had her back against the wall the entire time as we were just like, we don't like this movie.
Sure.
And then we capped off the whole series with John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978, which was us just glazing that movie like crazy.
Yeah, it's almost 3 hours long, that episode.
That episode is epic length, and it's just us being like, man, this is a great movie, isn't it? Yeah, this is, I agree. So good. Man, so good.
I mean, it's
real
very good.
So
It's amazing.
yeah, it's not without merit. I mean, it definitely deserves it. Halloween 3, I'm gonna be real with you guys on this one. I'm really kind of ambivalent about this movie.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Even
It's
after
not very good.
Even after this sort of kind of rediscovery, this sort of recent reevaluation. I say recent reevaluation, but I feel like it's sort of kind of come back into everybody's consciousness sort of in the last 20 years. So it isn't exactly recent, but it's not without its charms. It's a very, very weird movie.
Yeah.
That you can tell has about like 3 or 4 screenwriters' fingerprints all over it.
Those people never spoke to each other.
Nope,
Absolutely not.
They're all pulling in different directions. You got Dino De Laurentis going, no, make it more violent. So this whole thing is just such a fucking mess.
Yeah.
It's the relationship between our leads is so uncomfortable to just be around at any moment.
Does it seem implausible to you that this 20-year-old woman would?
Because I at one point I looked it up. I was like, because he says, he goes like, hey, how old are you? And I'm like, gross. First of all, gross. Second of all,
after they have already fucked.
And then
He's
I'm
just
like,
making sure.
Okay, I was like, Stacy Nelkin's got to be like, I don't know, probably like 21 maybe. And so I'm like, how old was Tom Atkins at the time of this?
45.
47 years old at the time of this movie.
As we were watching this film, I also pulled out my phone, and I was like, "How old are these people?" Now, if we're gonna be totally honest, Aileen and I are on our Halloween weekend, so I had a couple Prosecco's.
Same.
And I did the math wrong. So I got the Tom Atkins math correct, but hers, I was like, oh, she's early 30s. And it wasn't until we watched the dead meat on the movie just to get some clarity on what the fuck is going on here that did we discover that she was actually in her
23.
very early 20s, which... Early 30s versus, like, sure, you're in your mid 40s. Okay, it's fine.
But once you hit, no.
Is a no.
Yeah.
It's a no.
Yeah.
That's how you know that this movie was made by men. Because it
Yes.
was like, look, I am under no illusions. I am in my 40s. I don't think that a 21-year-old anything is going to be like, well, hello, sir. Why?
And
Do
I don't
they
want
think
that
that's
fucking either. I'm also in my 40s, and I'm like, no. Absolutely not. Wow. Anyway.
Yeah. It is in stark contrast to Halloween, which was, written in part by a woman, which is, part of the like as what that we talked about at great length was the Debra Hill contributions to Halloween make the women in that movie feel very real and very natural, and like there's none of that in this movie. Like Debra kept her hands as clean of this one as possible, and it's just Tommy Lee Wallace being like, yeah, of course a 47-year-old guy would get with a 20-year-old,
and like
it
a
reeks
piece
of the 80s.
Shit 47-year-old too. Like this
Yeah,
guy
a
is
real
like,
dirtbag.
He's a real slime ball. He said, I'm going to drink some Jack Daniels before I go to my doctor job. And then when I have the opportunity to leave my children as soon as possible, I'm going to. Because I got a hot 23-year-old waiting for me.
At some point, I want to address the alcoholism in this movie because it feels like a deliberate character point that was inserted at some point and then reduced to this kind of like background hum, because there is no moment in this movie where he's not just like hauling around a six-pack or like a bottle in a paper bag, but it doesn't
or
ever
coming
really
into
seem...
a room with a glass full of whiskey or something.
Yeah, like it never really seems to sort of amount to anything, though.
Right.
So
well, nothing does. The characters in this movie are wafer thin. Like there is no development. No development. Like it is. You can, and there are moments though where you can tell that they were like, "Oh, this is a good plot point." And I'm like, "Are you gonna say more about that?" Nope. Like there's moments where it's like clearly there's stuff about like the sort of economic anxiety of the early 80s. There's like weird shit in there that are just like quick comments that are clearly meant to like kind of, they're a point to develop, and they never do. And it's like, well, then why did you say it in the first place?
I know. Like, that's like, there is that line where it's about 2/3 of the way to the movie where was it Buddy Kupfer's wife is like, did you know that Conal Cochran just became one of the most wealthiest men in the country, just selling a bunch of cheap trinkets. Oh, there's hope for us after all. And as I read that, I was like, oh, that's a John Carpenter line if I ever saw one.
Because he did some punch up on this.
Yeah.
Sure. That makes sense.
I mean, to be fair, honestly, even the relationship that they didn't go into this, but the relationship between our two leads, she's in her early 20s. Her father has just died, and all of a sudden she wants to have sex with this old man. I was like, I mean, there's something here, but honestly, let's choose not to chase this, to follow what the fuck is going on here. We don't need to know.
Tom Atkins is a handsome old man.
Well, sometimes.
Love that mustache.
The mustache
Sometimes.
is great. My worry is that we're way past Tom Atkins's career high points, but then you see him in the Fog when he's with Jamie Lee Curtis, and she is also a 12-year-old and he is a 50-year-old, and it's just like, why do we keep casting Tom Atkins as like the hot guy that is old enough for these young women to have daddy issue confrontations with?
I think he's like a stand-in for like the everyman. He's like a little bit schlubby, a little bit sweaty.
His skin is a little bit bad. Like you can see the pock marks of his acne back in his day.
Yeah, and like, the alcoholism, it's part of the plot, but it can be both, right?
Sure.
He could just be a functional alcoholic.
Totally. Yeah, he's our hero in this movie, and he's like an alcoholic deadbeat dad.
Yeah.
And like groping
with
the
a bitch ex-wife.
And like, a bitch ass ex-wife. Every woman he comes across with, he's like, hey, honey, will you do me a favor? I'd love to talk to you later, and then let me pinch your bottom as you go on. And these women are like, oh, doctor, what's your fuck? Yes, oh, come on. And I'm like, guys, he is not that charming.
Nah.
It's very much a product of the 80s, it feels. That's not an excuse, but it is like, God damn, this is of the 80s.
Very common 80s shit going on here. You want to run down the numbers?
I think we gotta.
We have to. The year was 1982, year of our Lord.
Bathing in his blood.
How comfortable is this podcast in 1982, would you say?
I feel like it's basically where we live.
Because here's 5 movies that were released in 1982.
Okay.
Poltergeist was released in 1982.
Hey, come on.
Which
film.
we just did. The House on Sorority Row was
damn.
Love it.
1982. Madman was 1982.
Awesome.
Pieces was 1982.
Wow.
Amityville 2, The Possession, which today's movie's director wrote the script for, along with Dardano Sacchetti, the busiest man in Italy.
Nice.
Dave, you sense a pattern there?
I do. We have covered every single one of those movies. Look, it was a good year for horror.
It was a very good year.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So our cast and crew, our director is not John Carpenter. It's Tommy Lee Wallace. Guitar.
John Carpenter light.
Yep. Diet John Carpenter.
Yep.
Shasta. John Carpenter.
Guitar player for the Coupe de Villes and longtime friend and collaborator of John. Wallace served as art director on Carpenter's early projects. From here, Tommy goes on to a fruitful career directing a few features, but mostly working in television. He directed the underrated sequel Fright Night 2 and the 1990 TV adaptation of It.
He also directed.
Way.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
he
Really?
directed a couple Max Headroom as well.
Yeah, he did some episodes of that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, and listener, if you've not watched Max Headroom, that show is really fucking good, way ahead of its time.
It used to freak the shit out of me when I was a little kid. I remember seeing his head and him doing all that crazy stuff, and I was like, I don't think I like this guy.
Yep. Our cast includes, as we mentioned, Tom Atkins, as seen previously in our coverage of the movies Night of the Creeps and The Fog. He's an S-tier character actor with one hell of a mustache.
Yeah, he is going to be reappearing on our schedule several times next year as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, he's been in this is his third appearance just this year, I think.
Wow.
Here he's playing a fundamentally unlikable character, and true to his reputation as an affable dude that all the fans love, he somehow makes Dan Chalice the guy you kind of want to root for.
Sure.
I guess.
You kind of have to, I guess. You don't have any.
He's the only one you got.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yep. So we've also got Stacy Nelkin. See also our 99-cent rental episode about the movie Get Crazy.
Yep.
No, seriously, go listen to that episode. Like literally nobody has listened to that one. Like that's like our least listened to episode.
I don't
Come on,
think
people.
I've ever heard of this
get it.
movie, Get Crazy.
Fine.
Get Crazy. It's it comes out the year after this. It comes out in '83. It's like if High Times and Mad Magazine got together and wrote a movie about rock and roll.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. The bulk of her career is spent on TV, landing guest spots on the A-Team, in Murder, She Wrote, and The Fall Guy.
But she was also in The Jerk 2. Did you know there was a sequel to The Jerk?
Yes, I've seen it. It is very bad.
Is
a
it
very bad
who,
movie.
It can't be
The
Steve
second
Martin,
one.
is it?
No.
Who is it?
Isn't it? It's not Steve Martin in that, is it?
I'm pretty sure it's Steve Martin.
Steve. Wow. Okay. Hey, everybody needs a paycheck. Am I right?
Yeah, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, that's true too.
Actually, no. It is not. It was written by Steve Martin. Steve Martin. God damn.
You're blowing it.
I'm just dying out here tonight. No. No. Mark Blankfield is the guy who kind of takes over.
So someone you've never heard of.
Yep.
Exactly.
But Jesus Christ, I am so sorry, everybody. I will get my shit together. Rounding out the cast, we got Dan O'Hurley as seen in RoboCop.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yep. Evidenced by this movie, O'Hurley was a character actor who took every role he played seriously, no matter if he was acting for Luis Buñuel, the dead serious Cold War movie Failsafe, or as a stuck-up bad guy type in a movie with a title like The Whoopee Boys.
Oh my.
He was also on Whiz Kids. Remember Whiz Kids?
I loved Whiz Kids, man.
Yeah, he was on that. Mm-hmm.
Early 80s movie about computer hackers.
No.
It was a TV show, too.
Not a movie. It was a TV show.
Oh, we were probably too foreign for that.
Yeah, because it was pretty low budge. Like it was, it wasn't a huge hit.
If it was local TV channels and stuff like that, we were watching that. In Latin America, we were probably watching Show da Xuxa or something.
Yeah. It was coming in off the back of War Games. When people were like, "Oh shit, you can do that stuff with computers."
Matthew Broderick War Games, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that one.
Nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, that's why we have you on this.
Because I know films with Matthew Broderick.
I got one tagline worth mentioning, and it's because I love it. I think it's really good.
I'm gonna say it before you do. This is the greatest tagline for any movie ever made.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yep. Here it is. The night no one comes home.
Fuck yes. I love that.
Oh, man. Good
Genuinely
stuff.
love it.
Yeah, great. That's great.
Yep. Got to put on my movie announcer voice to say that one.
Night no one comes home.
Yep.
That was
So, what is going on here? How is this a Halloween movie?
Oh, sure.
Right.
No, you love Halloween.
Yep. Everybody loves Halloween. You love the one with the Michael Myers and the Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
This movie makes no fucking sense at all.
Ever.
No, and I find the kind of I really wish I could get to the bottom of the who had the sort of horror movie slasher franchise as anthology idea first, because I cannot seem to figure out where that kind of originated. Because famously, this movie comes out and John Carpenter, there is obviously him and Debra Hill are grabbed by Compass Picture. It's Compass, right? Mustafa Akkad.
Yep.
And
I
they
think
were
that's
like,
what
"Hey,
we saw at the beginning."
yeah, they're like, hey, we're going to do another one of these, John Carpenter and Debra Hill. You should be involved. And they were like, we'll do it, but none of this Michael Myers stuff. And they were like, fine, sure, we'll do whatever you want to do. And so they came up with this idea where, allegedly, for every further sequel was going to be sort of a new movie based around the Halloween holiday, with sort of like very, very loose connective tissue. Like
Sure.
essentially a new horror movie with a Halloween theme, nothing really tying them all together. The sort of anthology
which is a good idea.
Which is a great idea. I wish that there were more out there that did that. Friday the 13th was supposed to also do this, but I can't tell if either of these stories is sort of apocryphal or not. Because some of the instances that I researched was this was the plan all along. But as far as I know, Halloween was just like a one-off kind of one and done thing, and the sequel was just like, well, shit, we got to have a sequel. That first movie kicked ass. We want more money.
Right.
And the sequel was also like a devil's bargain. He was like, I'll do it, but also you have to let me make this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Because Sean Cunningham has said as much about Friday the 13th as well, where they were like, oh, every movie is going to be different, and it'll have a different story, and it'll be about Friday the 13th, the holiday. So I have no idea really where that comes from or who was really, if there was any truth to that or not. Because as far as I can tell, like, this movie was just, the reason it has absolutely nothing to do with the other movies, apart from the fact that it takes place on Halloween, is just that, like, they wanted to make a movie. John Carpenter was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm not doing another Michael Myers movie. And they were like, God damn it, fine, do whatever you want.
But, in the film, the one random way that they kind of connect it all is that you can see Halloween, the Michael Myers, on the TV, which is a cute little thing to do. And, I wonder if there's such of the Hollywood capitalist situation where they're like, well, if you made $1 billion and then people become obsessed with these characters like Michael Myers, which is so good, and then you, if you're gonna do 1 and then 2 and then throw the wrench with these like kids and shitty masks and this goddamn song every 10 seconds, then it's gonna be tough to get your audience on board for like switching it up. They should have They should have done it at 2, and if they had gone at 2, then bring Michael back at 3 if you want to, or 4 even. But like, you gotta establish, if you're gonna make all of our Halloweens are different, Twilight Zone kind of thing, fucking American Horror stories or whatever. Like, then you're gonna have to do each.
Yeah, and you can't start at 3.
Exactly.
You have to start at 2.
That is exactly the problem. Is because with this movie, because we are still very early in the slasher cycle, and so like and really only 2 of them are really spawning sequels, as far as I know. Like Friday the 13th is the first, is really Friday the 13th was the one to really kind of beat him to the punch and get a sequel out before Halloween 2 came out. Even though I think Part 2, Friday 2 and Halloween 2 both kind of came out the same year, but like they both did the same thing where they were like just continuations of the first story, and then like Halloween 3 comes along and they throw this wrench in the works, and it's like, no. The time to do this anthology thing was like a year ago when you made Halloween 2, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Also,
like they'd already kind of conditioned theater goers, like horror movie fans, to sort of expect a kind of ongoing cycle of the same killer again and again.
Exactly.
Well, can you imagine showing up to the theaters in 1982 having loved Halloween 1 and 2 and being like, hell yeah, Halloween 3 Season of the
get
Witch,
this.
I'm so ready, and how fucking disappointed you would have been. With all due respect to people who love this film, more power to you. And like I also like see the charm, but if I had been in the theater in 1982, super pumped to watch this film, and I saw this, I would have asked for my money back.
It is worth remembering that it's...
Go, Dave.
Go ahead. Go. Okay, I was just going to say, it's worth remembering that unlike now where you will see trailers for things, you'll see shit on social media. Like in 1982, you could very reasonably avoid any knowledge of this movie and operate only on the title. And the poster doesn't really tell you much. Actually, the poster is pretty cool.
No, the only insight that you really got into this movie was Fangoria. Like some of the research that I did for this very episode came from a 1982 issue of Fangoria that had like behind the scenes stuff and like an interview it was very early on in production when Nigel Kneale's script was still mostly intact because the story was basically the same with a few like different touches before like Tommy Lee Wallace got to it and sort of changed.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Wallace says that it's 60% Nigel Kneale's original story.
Yeah,
and Nigel Kneale's probably like, shut up.
I gotta say though, even if Season of the Witch was just a standalone fucking movie on its own, like, hello, I have nothing attached with Halloween, it would still fucking suck. I'm sorry.
I
do not like this movie. It's so annoying and dumb.
I'm kind of with you on that. Like, on its own, removed entirely from the Halloween legacy, it is just a weird fucking movie that has like druids and magic and like lasers that make bugs come out of your face and shit. Like, it is just fucking ridiculous.
Robots that look like insurance salesmen. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Yep.
You don't like the incel robots?
No. Hold up. You guys are maligning my man Dick Warlock.
That's true.
You're treading on thin ice over there.
He had a very scary uplit shot that, yes, that's all well and good. Look, I applaud you, sir, for your performance. But what is scary about a man in a suit and a tie approaching you with dead eyes? A woman sees that every single fucking day working in the finance section of the world. So, but I get it.
will say that like watching, so this is only the second time I've ever watched this film. And as I was watching it, I literally turned to Aileen and I was like, I don't remember any of this shit. So I will say that like upon second viewing, I was like, okay, like there was like a twist that I was like, my dumb ass didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And there were some fun things where I was like, okay. And it like in its absurdity, I enjoy it, but it does like it does kind of overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
It should really wrap itself up. I'm going to say like 10 to 20 minutes sooner.
That is the thing
you got to get this thing going.
It is just a touch over 100 minutes long, and it does start to feel a little long in the tooth.
It's a bit of a slog.
Are you kidding me? It's only 100 minutes long? That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, you have no idea why anything is happening in this whole movie. It's like, because you have one person who wrote a script that I'm sure was like a fine movie.
Yeah.
And then you have other people come in and they're like, it's like they filmed a bunch of shit and then just jammed it into this other script, but never edited for any of that. And so you're like, wait, why is this happening now?
Also, Johnny, you've watched this movie twice in your entire life through no fault of my own. I've watched this movie 3 times this year.
This year!
Well, also I must say, I hope we are not doing your I feel like we're not doing your podcast any favors because people fucking love this movie.
I know, like,
but why?
Love this movie.
But
They're gonna come
why?
into this episode being
When
like, we're ready to celebrate, and we're gonna be like, we didn't like it.
Ooh, this guy stinks.
Seriously, you should see our Blair Witch episode. We had like 4,000 people that were like, "You guys are wrong and stupid."
You guys don't like Blair Witch Project? I'm leaving.
No, we
I'm leaving
don't.
now. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. How dare you?
I know how much you like it.
No, but to that point, like I was in New York a couple of weeks ago, and I went to. Yeah, I should have said something, Eileen. I didn't want to bother you.
How dare you? Well, next time, let me know.
I will definitely be coming back. I go there for work, but
Okay,
I went to Abracadabra, and and there's like a huge like Halloween 3 just like section that's all the masks and fucking purses and socks, and I mean you get the buckets, Halloween candy buckets in the likeness of these 3 masks. Like, I mean, like, people really go fucking nuts.
Yeah.
These masks appear like everywhere. Like they're even referenced in the more recent Halloween movies. Like, people fucking go crazy for this movie. Sorry, if you're listening to this and being like, these motherfuckers, I'm sorry, guys. We'll make it up to you.
We will look for the good. We always do this on our podcast, on Wiki Horror, even when it's a steaming piece of shit, which I'm not saying this is a steaming piece of shit. But
it is to me. It's
fine.
a steaming piece of shit. I'm
fine.
happy and proud to say it. But I do think
But we will look for the good is what I'm trying to say. Like, we will look for the good. Because it exists in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love a yolk coming out of a mouth of a robot, like a runny egg yolk. That's great. That's fabulous.
You make it seem like something that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not totally down on this movie. Like, it has little bits and pieces, stuff that I think is really, really amusing. Just as a whole, I'd rather watch something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So things that I learned about this was originally meant to be a Joe Dante movie.
Really?
Honestly,
Yeah,
would love to see.
He has a weird connection to this. Like, there are several points in the sort of evolution of Halloween where he very nearly had a hand in it, which I would have fucking loved, because he was also the original director for Halloween 4. I can't remember why he backed out of it, but like if you go to like he's got like his Wikipedia page, like he must talk about movies he almost made a lot, because like half of his article is just movies Joe Dante almost made, and some of them reading the descriptions, I was like, oh god, that would have been great.
Oh my! You literally just saying he almost directed Halloween 4 breaks my. I love Halloween 4. But having Joe Dante direct it, holy shit!
Yeah.
You know what I read? What movie he almost made? Interstellar. JK, that's not true. I just a funny joke.
No, he was.
It just felt like you needed to get in there.
Just was like, what's a movie that's so random that if Joe Dante made it, it would be crazy?
Well, here's the thing: is for a second, I was like, shit, really? Yeah. Dante, the consummate horror movie dork, enlisted British writer Nigel Kneale of the Quatermass fame to write the script, which was mostly left intact after our man Dino De Laurentis demanded some changes that added more graphic violence. The original plot.
Do you think he had met Nigel Kneale before? Because it sounds like Nigel Kneale was a pretty insufferable asshole.
Here's the thing: is Quatermass in the Pit is a movie that I really, really love. I think it's fucking amazing, and to find out that this guy is just kind of a dick bothers me, because he's such a good fucking writer.
But he's of a generation of like a British generation. Who's the guy that did Dave the Triffids and that guy, the guy who wrote those books. He's like a total kind of a racist.
Mm-hmm.
A real monster. And it's like, I think that generation, that like kind of wartime generation, is just real stuffy and conservative and like how dare you? Like that kind of attitude.
I think Dennis Wheatley was kind of the same too. And they're all from that same sort of generation. So yeah, but like, cause here what happens is Joe Dante's like, come work on this thing. He was in between projects. He's like, sounds great. They're like, Debra Hill kind of laid this sort of the basic idea on them, which was witchcraft in the digital age. I think was her sort of like elevator pitch.
Okay.
And he was like,
great
cool
idea, honestly.
Yeah, which is why like the movie starts out in the sort of the Halloween fashion with a pumpkin, except that it's all video effects instead of an actual.
Love
pumpkin.
the opening. Love that.
I
scene.
do. I do love the
title
opening.
credits. Very cool.
Do you think she said that and he said, say more, and she said, no, go write it. Yes, but please go on.
Expand your idea, man.
Expound.
Yeah, but he seemed
Come
to
for the
have-
movie and stay for the accent work.
he seemed to have this kind of attitude towards it where he was like, great, yeah, I'll just write this movie. But I don't want it to be like, I know how you Americans love your violence. I'm not going to make a violent movie. And so he turned in a script that I guess everybody liked. And then De Laurentis was like, no. There needs to be like heads getting ripped off and people getting shot in the face with lasers and stuff like that. Like, we got to have some blood in this movie. And he was like, well, fuck you guys. Peace. I'm out of here.
Yeah, he underestimated the Italians.
I know.
Sure.
But again, in a few years, John Carpenter makes Prince of Darkness, which is very heavily inspired by Quatermass in the Pit. And the script writing credit in that movie is Martin Quatermass, and apparently Neil was offended by this.
Oh, yeah.
And even in this case, after
It's improper.
After they rewrote, I think it was after Carpenter kind of punched it up a little bit and did his thing. Neil was like, no, get my name off this thing. I don't want anything to do with this project anymore.
He
So it was
sued
like, God,
them
dude.
to get his name taken off of it.
Well, he probably had to do. He probably had to do that for the Writers Guild because they're very particular about the way that credits are handled.
Mm-hmm.
But like, goddamn, dude, just relax. Take a writer's credit. You get a check, man.
Get a paycheck.
Hey. Hello.
Yeah, you write sci-fi. Calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he write the Stone Tape also?
Yes, he did, and I really enjoyed that movie.
I loved it. I thought the Stone
It is
Tape
not
was great
good,
too.
Stone
but I
Tape?
enjoyed it.
Never heard of it.
It's like it was a TV movie from like the late '60s from like
Yeah, it was
BBC.
it was a BBC thing. It was.
okay.
I don't think it's on Shudder anymore, but it was for a little while.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's worth watching because
It
it's
was
like
super interesting.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the things that I do like about this movie is that it looks really good. It is
It does.
Yeah, 'cause
visually
it's
very
Dean
compelling.
Cundy.
Here's a reason: it was produced by almost entirely by the entire production crew from Escape from New York.
It's got some
Yeah.
great
Oh,
shots.
yeah.
Like I literally also while we were watching turned to Aileen and I was like, "Great shot. That looks fucking great."
That
The
one
very
shot of the
opening-
kids in Phoenix, Arizona, where the
I
sun is setting.
love that shot.
Gorgeous.
Love that
Gorge.
goddamn shot.
That
So
fucking
good.
witch hat looks so good against that sky. It's unbelievable.
Right.
And when you say Phoenix, Arizona, I think you mean Los Angeles County.
That's literally also what I said. I
Every
was
single one of those
in another
shots.
neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Definitely.
Moved to fucking Las
I was-
Vegas or something.
I was going to say that shot is 100% like just they set up a camera at dusk on Mulholland Drive and that was
They
it.
said, guys, this is our shoot day today. We're gonna start in Santa Monica, and then we're gonna go to West Hollywood. We're gonna go down to Culver City, and then we're gonna fucking go up to Malibu, and then I don't know. I literally have no idea about neighborhoods in LA.
I know there were a couple that were like Dayton, Ohio.
Little
I'm
Korea.
like, motherfucker, you.
No.
It's like you can see the palm trees, guys. This is clearly.
Seriously.
It's like you just went back to Pasadena for this shot.
You
Tom
did.
Cruise
Yeah,
just
absolutely
walked by in his fucking tiny shorts.
Yeah.
But they look great because Dean Cundy, the guy is like the best cinematographer working throughout the 80s. But still, I mean, he's still incredible. Like everything he does looks phenomenal. Like this
All
is the
of-
guy that shot Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
For fuck's sake.
all of the night photography in this stuff looks amazing. Like
Yeah.
lights against the sort of backdrop of the darkness have that weird sort of like horizontal lens flare that you see all up and down Escape from New York. Oh God, yeah, the look of this movie, like the very first shot of just that guy kind of running into the foreground underneath that like overpass and shit, just like
Great.
very, very compelling look to this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Santa Mira is okay. I'm gonna ask you guys,
Okay.
famously Spanish speaking people.
Thank you.
Is Is Mira a name also?
Mira would be like look.
Mira means
like,
look.
It's look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I knew a Mira who was not Latina at all. That was just her name, Mira.
Nickname for Miriam?
Santa Mira.
Yeah. Because Santa Mira is it's the location of Silver Shamrock and all that in this, but it was also a reference to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because the people making these movies are also horror movie dorks.
Sure.
So like they're just doing that, but I was like, that's not I was like, because I know that word in Spanish, and I'm like, that's not a name. So I figured
Saint Look.
Saint Look. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call her Saint Mira.
Saint Mira.
You know her.
I've heard of Amita. Amita, I've heard that name a bunch of times, but never Mita.
Yeah.
Same.
So originally, because I think the reason it was used was because of the Body Snatchers connection, because I think early on, as they were conceptualizing this, Carpenter and Hill sort of saw this as a kind of pod people movie, and in a way, it sort of is like a little bit of that survives into the shooting script.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
literally with what's her dick at the end.
Yep. Which is one of the things that I do like about this movie is how utterly ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
In a totally unexplained way, though, where you're like, is she alive somewhere? Or is that
dead?
her?
Oh no,
but also
she's
why?
Dead.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, she's gone. She's dead.
Yep.
She must be.
They unpeeled her face and peeled it back onto a lovely robot filled with clock parts and music box parts.
And yellow egg
and
yolk.
Yellow egg yolk inside as blood, and said, "Go on with your life, honey."
And destroy.
Destroy.
Dave, are there this movie? How'd this review? I know that Vincent Canby was weirdly cool about it.
We'll get to my boy Vinny in a minute. It's weird because there were a bunch of bad reviews that were like, this is stupid. Why isn't this a continuation of blah, 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 blah. The same argument that'll be made for like the 20 years after it. But there were other, I'm going to say maybe more skilled or maybe better writers who I think looked at it and were like, it's a dumb movie, but it's kind of fun to watch. You get what you get. Enjoy, I guess.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a split down the middle. And I'm going to hit you first with my boy Raj.
Oh, good.
Mr. Ebert.
I know that this was one of his most hated movies of the year.
He did not care for this one. So his review is, there are a lot of problems with Halloween 3, but the most basic one is that I could never figure out what the villain wanted to accomplish if he got his way.
Well,
his scheme is easy enough to figure. He wants to sell millions of Halloween masks to the nation's kiddies and then brainwash them to put them on at the same time, whereupon laser beams at the base of the neck will fry the tykes. Meanwhile, he runs a factory that turns out lifelike robots. What's his plan? Kill the kids and replace them with robots?
I think he.
And then he kind of goes on and he's just like, well,
Raj
that
is
sucks.
a little confused.
Same, Raj.
Same.
Hey, I think we all are.
As are all of us, yeah.
So Vincent Canby is a little bit more charitable. His Halloween 3 means to be funny and frequently is. The sets, including a photogenic little town in Northern California and the mad toy maker's Dr. No-like laboratory, are unusually good. Mr. Wallace clearly has a fondness for the cliches he is parodying, and he does it with style. So I think he's like, look, here is what you get. It's a little bit funny. It's not that bad. Manja.
Yeah.
Now, the Los Angeles Times is kind of interesting. You may hate this film. You may deplore the exploitation tactics of its producers, Debra Hill and John Carpenter, which I don't really understand why they say that.
No, don't do that. Don't do
That's
that, LA
rude.
Times. You gotta make me mad.
But you must acknowledge that in their cynicism, they are reflecting the times in which we live. Now, I think Kevin Thomas is maybe taking this movie a little too seriously.
Right.
Or he's seeing those moments where the little bits about like factory towns and sort of like, people being down and out and they're not hiring locals anymore. Like, I think that's kind of what he's keying into. And he's like, oh, the cynical movie. And it's like, yeah, they don't explore that any more than they explore anything else.
Yeah.
So
1,000%.
All right, I can dig it, I suppose.
And finally, a surprisingly juicy film. That's more than a little slick, but there is plenty of joy in the filmmaking. This film qualifies for status as one of those good films you're embarrassed to admit you like. 3 stars out of 4. Gene motherfucking Sisko.
Get
Wow.
out of here. Get out of here, Gene.
And I like to think this is one of those movies where those 2 hoes scratched it out on TV.
Absolutely.
Where they're just like sniping at each other.
Ebert is like, how dare you? And then Siskel's like, I loved it.
You bitch. But he famously calls him that in one of those great videos. The best thing, though, is in Gene Siskel. So he had like a column. So he had a regular column in Chicago Tribune. But like he also had a here's what's coming up. And it would just sort of be a rundown of like the movies that we're going to talk about this week or whatever. And in the description for this one, it just says, an occult science fiction story about some weirdo who has Halloween masks that come to life, not related to the stories of the previous 2 films.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's pretty much
pretty
it.
great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's one of those ones where like people are like, look, it's a dumbass horror movie. Either watch or don't care.
Right.
Yep. So shall we do it? Shall we jump in?
I think it is time.
Woo!
So right off the bat, we're treated to a visual representation of Debra Hill's concept, as we just discussed a little bit for the movie.
We open on a seizure.
Yep. As the old Halloween pumpkin intro is replaced by some video effects and John Carpenter's moody synth score.
I think this score for this movie, this is maybe the first time he works with what's his face?
I do believe this is out.
Alan
Howarth is his first. This is the first collaboration.
I feel like the score for this movie is a little bit of a fuck you.
Okay. Expand.
It is aggressive and repetitive in a way that is like almost assaultive.
Oh,
by
okay.
the end, I was just like, I need to stop or turn it down or something.
It is really intense. It's really loud. I mentioned this earlier this week as we were talking this out. I get the feeling a lot of this stuff is unused bits and pieces from Escape from New York.
The more listenable parts, I would say, probably are, because Escape from New York is a great score.
It's like my favorite soundtrack to any movie, to my favorite movie of all time. Like that is
nice.
It is so goddamn good, which is why I recognize it. It all feels very familiar to me. It has that kind of kinetic quality that Escape from New York's soundtrack has, where it's always like Snake Plissken is constantly moving forward, constantly running, ducking the bad guys. It has
and that's the more downbeat stuff.
It has that kind of vibe to it, even though this movie is not like that at all. Like not even a little bit. But it is. I do like this soundtrack quite a bit.
I do too. I thought it was besides that fucking song, the rest of it is pretty, like, it feels like a little bowl of soup. You're like, John Carpenter, I know you anywhere kind of vibe.
Oh yeah, it's
nice.
Listening to John Carpenter is always like, it always feels like you're going home.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just like a little burned out on something, because it was like there's so many staccato moments where I was like, enough.
It is. Well, you're not wrong. It's just that's the stuff that makes me think that like. Him and Howarth were just like, all right, what do we got left over? Like, what do we got in the tapes from Escape from New York? Let's just reuse that,
right?
Because you know how John Carpenter be.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, we need a theme song, and he was like, how about London Bridge? He was like, great.
Yeah, right.
That's annoying as hell.
Play
sure.
it for him 14 times. That song is played 14 songs in this.
Oh no, Jesus. It is 18 times.
18. Oh no.
18 times in this movie.
So yeah. Hope you liked it the first time. Yep. Cut to some of that sweet Dean Cundey nighttime footage. A man runs through the streets on foot with a Halloween mask stuffed into his pocket. He's chased by a car. He pops into a scrapyard and thinks he's given them the slip until he literally runs right into a dude in a sharp suit.
And I called him Skinny Dan Hedaya.
Nice.
Yep.
And he's not being subtle at all. Like, dude, you could have gone anywhere.
Sure.
And you went into the noisiest place you could find.
Yep, they struggle on the ground as the suit guy strangles him, but he manages to pull the chocks out from under the wheels of a nearby car, causing it to roll forward, crushing suit guy.
Quick question. Why was the car not in park?
because he needed.
People are terrible at their job.
They just put the shocks there in case a guy was getting strangled by a robot man, and he needed to
in just such a way.
Yep.
Exactly.
I do like
this little robot death here, though. The way this
so
actor
funny.
just kind of like gingerly tosses his head back. I was like,
I like that. I like that because it's like he's not going to respond because he's a robot. No, we don't know that yet.
Exactly.
But like,
so it feels extra weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just like, oh, he's just sort of like, oh well. Goodbye.
Not me.
So at a nearby gas station, the attendant watches TV. There's a news report on the TV about the disappearance of one of the stones at Stonehenge.
This is the gas station from The Fog.
From The
and
Fog,
I believe the gas station from The Birds as well.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No fucking way. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
I guarantee you that when they were scouting this out, they were like, Northern California, we'll just use all the shit that we used on The Fog.
Yeah.
No, like we have a house there. We'll just stay there.
Yeah. Then there's an ad for silver shamrock Halloween masks. The first of 18 times we're going to hear this song, apparently. Yeah. The important things to take away from these ads, there's going to be a horror movie marathon on Halloween night and a big giveaway at 9 p.m. Also, the masks glow.
I was too distracted by the calendar on the wall, the boob calendar on the wall.
I was cooking scampi while we were watching this, so I was too far away to see the boob calendar.
Well, you missed a good one.
Yeah, but I just need everybody
Next
to know
time.
the scampi was
Delicious.
Delightful, everybody. You should
Yeah,
all
I
be
fucking nailed it.
All right.
That's really good.
Next time I'm in New York, Eileen, you got to make the scampi.
Yes.
Okay, I will.
Absolutely.
All right. So yeah, the attendant is drawn away from the TV by some noise and is suddenly jumped by the guy with a Halloween mask in the previous scene. As he passes.
Yeah, hey, listen, everybody, if you need to get someone's attention, just a little tip here. Don't jump out at them from the darkest corner of the room.
As we call them, the pockets of terror. Ew.
Yes, you're lurching at them all shambolic.
Serious.
Yeah, as he passes out, he exclaims ominously that they're coming. Naturally, the attendant throws him in his truck and takes him to the hospital as the car guy watches him leave.
It's very nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
We cut to Dr. Dan Chalice arriving late to his ex-wife's house with the Halloween masks. His kids are disappointed because they already have Halloween masks. Silver shamrock masks.
We get the debut of is this Jonathan Miller? Is that his name?
Is that him?
The kid from Near Dark.
Oh, shit.
Teen
I had no
Witch
idea
and
that was him.
He's Jason Patrick's brother.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah, the kid is that's him. His father is was it Damien Karras from The Exorcist?
Yep.
Holy
Oh, damn. Nepo baby.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
now he's one of them horror gays.
I love it, as he should be. Also, welcome back to the main stage. I feel like a terrible
Judy?
fan
No, not
now.
Judy.
Nancy
Annie.
Kais, thank you, please and thank you, my girl Nancy,
Oh,
coming in
Nancy.
looking. They are doing her dirty.
Doing her dirty in this movie. I
yeah.
do not care for her portrayal in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Wallace, sir, that is your wife.
That's his wife. Okay.
Yeah.
At the time, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So
Looking just as frumpy as ever.
I hate how she is written in this because my fondest memory of her is Annie, and I fucking love Annie.
And of course, we all love Annie. And also, they try to like age her to be age appropriate for Tom Atkins, and it's just like no.
Well, because she looks like she's dressed like it's the 50s for some reason, because I think she was pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
And so that's why she's wearing like heavy clothing to sort of like obscure that a little bit. But like, you don't have to dress her like so just mumsy.
But also, it seems
as my girl Nina Garcia used to say on Project Runway.
But also, it seems to be like a kind of like first, impressions way of making us want to like him versus her, because they make her out to be, the nagging wife.
Right.
We're like,
she's a stereotype.
You're an alcoholic doctor going to the fucking hospital, wasted.
Yeah,
And
she's
you're an
Annie.
asshole.
Who am I going to like more?
Yeah.
And later on, you literally are like, fuck them kids. I'm going to go get my dick sucked.
Yep.
Yep. So, so while there, he gets a beep from the hospital. He calls in, learning that the Halloween mask guy is in and needs his attention.
And then she says, drinking and doctoring, a great combination. Which is like, why is nobody more concerned about that?
Because it's 1982.
I guess, yeah.
Gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think he would show up at work and someone would be like, does anyone smell whiskey?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is that?
They did.
Yeah. So in the hospital,
And they all laughed, and he went into surgery.
And he sliced someone open.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. Yeah, on surgery days, he drinks like Dayquil just to,
Sure.
keep the,
Just to take the edge
A
off.
white wine instead of liquor.
Yeah, it's a Zinfandel.
Yeah.
Spritzer.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the hospital, the gas station attendant worries that he's in some kind of trouble. The way things go, I'm honestly kind of understand.
This is where we get a cameo. This is Nurse Agnes, the older black woman. You all would definitely not recognize her from Airport 77.
But you would.
She's also... I do. I fucking love that movie. She's also Elvira in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Oh, that's great.
Amazing.
Whoa.
Wow. That's amazing. Holy shit.
She's great. I love her. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I love her.
Dang.
Yeah. So the Silver Shamrock ad runs again on a nearby TV, which wakes up Halloween guy, who then breathlessly announces that they're going to kill us. Dan has them shoot the guy up with Thorazine, which is a little much if you ask me.
Yeah,
that's it.
it. Thorazine, fuck.
Surely
he needs to be asleep for the next 10 days.
That's so
He's
intense.
bothering me.
Yeah. So, once he's calmed down, the car guy arrives, sneaks into Mask Guy's room. And
This is when the nurse walks out of the room and she's doing like a real Meg from Sleepaway Camp kind of hum as she's walking, where she's like,
Yeah, he gouges out the eyes of Mask Guy, breaking the bridge of his nose and presumably mashing up his brain in the process.
It is fucking gross.
Yeah.
It is a
Cool.
real
It looked
hard
great.
death.
Yeah.
You don't really realize what he's doing. You're like, wait, he's getting his eyes, and then he fucking pops the nose bridge. Damn.
Yeah.
Cool.
And pulls it. Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely on board with this movie's depictions of violence. Like they're pretty novel ways of killing people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is-
I'm with the Italians. The decision to put more violence in this movie was a solid choice because I was bored.
Yeah,
And I was
smash.
like, give us some fucking violence.
Smash these
Oh,
faces in.
God.
And that is a feature wrap on Skinny Dan a Dad.
Yep. And then he leaves calmly as he's discovered by the nurse. So now Dr. Dan gives chase, arriving in time to watch the guy douse himself in gas in his car, set himself on fire, blasting the car to pieces in the process.
Ooh.
Yeah, we get that hot 70s TV style car explosion. Like when a car would get bump into another car and then 5 seconds later it would just explode into a ball of flames.
Yeah. They look good. They look so fun.
Also, that was great casting because that man looks like a fucking robot. That actor. And the way he pours the gas on himself, I was like, awesome.
Creepy.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Look, Ma, I'm in a movie and I fucking nailed it.
And I'm a robot.
Yeah. So now Dan calls his terrible ex-wife, who won't hear a single word about the terrible, weird tragedy that just took place there. Women, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you?
Yep, the old battle axe.
The old
Annie.
ball and chain.
So
And this is her last movie.
this is the one where she was like, "Yo, if they're gonna write me like this, I'm out of here. Fuck Hollywood."
What a way to go
Yeah,
out.
seriously.
I get it.
Yep. So once he's off the phone, Dr. Dan notices that the mask is a silver shamrock mask, just like the one his kids have.
And these masks are made by Don Post Studios, y'all.
Yep. The witch and the skull, I believe, were sort of like existing masks, but the pumpkin they made specifically for the movie.
Fun.
Yep. And and you could buy them too. So if anyone doesn't know, Don Post made like the 70s and 80s cheap Halloween costumes, like the kind that you would buy at like CVS and shit like that.
Okay.
Love.
I believe, I believe the original, like the Shatner mask that the shape is based on was a Don Post mask. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
and so
that's
you could buy these when the movie came out. You could buy these masks as Halloween costumes.
Cute.
I honestly think they're great. I think they really work well.
Yeah,
I do
they're
like
fun
them because
It's so classic.
the colors really pop. Like they're really, really, sharp.
Great.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the reasons why this movie has had such a resurgence is like if you're like, horror, I think at this point relies very heavily on like collector culture.
Yes.
Like it's a very aesthetic, a very commercial culture. And if the other ones don't really have anything to grab onto, whereas this one does. It has a very visual, material thing that you can sort of reproduce. Because I think, what is it? Trick or Treat Studios bought the license, the marketing license, and so they like make all this shit. And a lot of it's really cool.
Yeah, I think like definitely to that point, like in the new Halloween movies, like they made each movie like in Halloween, the mask looks a certain way, and then it goes through some shit, and Halloween Kills comes out, and they make a Halloween Kills version of it, and then again Michael Myers goes through some shit, and so that when Halloween Ends come out, the Trick or Treat Studios makes a Halloween Ends version of the mask, and they're fundamentally it's the same fucking mask every time, but because collectors gotta collect them all, gotta catch them all.
Now, I'm gonna say, in fairness,
not cheap either.
No, those are about like $70. I've got one from their like original '78 Hollywood series.
But I'll say, in fairness to everybody, Super 7 has made a million different versions of little Godzilla figures. They all look exactly the same. I buy them all.
Listen,
it's like Godzilla 58, Godzilla 62. Yep.
Yeah. So the next,
I'm a dummy.
Yep. So the next morning, Mask Guy's daughter shows up to identify the body of her father.
Ellie Grimbridge.
Yeah.
Grimbridge.
Miss Grimbridge.
You can definitely tell that. You can definitely tell that Nigel Kneale wrote that one, because if it were a John Carpenter name, her name would have been like
Joy Smith.
Like Edith Bucket.
Yeah,
whatever happens
totally
to be first.
Susan Car I Drive.
Or he would have just named her Nick Castle.
Yeah, exactly.
My God, totally.
At the coroner, Dr. Dan talks to his friend, the assistant medical examiner, with questions about what happened.
Girlfriend number 1, Teddy.
Is that her name?
God.
Yeah. She's amazed by the arm strength it would take to break up a man's skull with just his hand.
Is this Helen Hunt?
This is Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt with a bad dye job.
Yeah.
So now at the bar, Dr. Dan catches an ad on TV for the original Halloween, and yet again an ad for silver shamrock masks.
I feel like the ads for the original Halloween, maybe those are a little bit of a dig. That's like, haha, you all thought you were coming to see a sequel, idiots. You should have read the reviews. Vincent Canby would have told you.
So Ellie Grimbridge, the girl from the hospital, runs into Dan. One of the nurses told her she'd find him there, which raises a question as to what is the deal with Dan's alcoholism in this movie.
Wow.
Also, why would you be like, you could find him at the bar? That's not very reassuring.
I know. Well, if he's there, might as well send her to the right place.
And she has got her Flashdance hair. It is so floofed out.
This curl, this is absolutely a perm. There's no way. I mean, if it is her natural curl, my girl needs to put a mask on twice a week and just like let it sit for a while. And I'm gonna say put a leave-in condish and a curl cream, not a mousse or a gel, because those curls are dry. Girl.
Oh yeah, Stacy Nelkin could definitely be like a stunt double for Jennifer Beals. 100%.
Oh, that is 100% what they're going for.
Elizabeth Berkley. That's who she was.
Very
giving me.
Berkley-esque.
Elizabeth Berkley.
I could see that as well, because I feel like Elizabeth Berkley was probably modeled after Jessica Biel. Jennifer Beals?
Jennifer Beals?
Jennifer Beals.
Yeah,
Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
Jennifer Beals.
Totally.
In Flashdance.
Oh,
but everybody, Aileen knows curly people.
I know curly people.
So you just got some real hot hair advice.
Yeah.
So we got Dr. Dan becoming obsessed with the case. He wants to know what's going on. Mistake number 1. This is definitely not the sort of thing you want to get all up in. It's definitely a case for the cops. But the guy can't even take care of his children. He's got to go on an adventure with his new lady friend who he just met and can't wait to fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say it's 30%. That's generous. 20% curiosity as to what's going on here. 80% look at this hot 20-something that I'm going to follow off into the wherever the fuck we're going. I'm going to say that that's what's going on here.
Yeah. So Ellie takes Dan to her father's general store. There's a big silver shamrock display with the 3 masks conspicuously placed in the store. Also, what luck?
This is where we cut to the scene of them driving, and it's like this weird funereal dirge as they're driving along for some reason.
Oh, yeah, I believe that track is called Chariot of Pumpkins.
Which
I
is
love
like,
that.
It's a bizarre song because it's like everything else again is that real staccato rhythm, and this is just sort of like wah, wah, wah.
Oh yeah, it's like that again. It's like that in Escape from New York. Like you get all of that like stuff that John Carpenter does, and then when he flies the Gulfire into the city, it's that like symphonic Claude Debussy track.
Sure.
That completely
that
flies
song.
in the face of the rest of the soundtrack. It's
And then in the car the whole way, he's like giving her this like weird Wikipedia-esque summary of like Connell Cochran and of the town of Santa Mira. And it's like, where are you getting this information?
Girl.
So yeah, I was just gonna. I actually says on the way up, Dr. Dan gives us a Wikipedia rundown of Santa Mira.
It's like what he's like reading it off of something. Like, what is this? An encyclopedia?
Yeah,
I bet you he was like, guys, I'm so drunk today. Can you just hold up the cue card so I can just read the lines because I can't do it.
It's the best I got.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, what luck. Ellie's dad kept really good records. He intended to pick up one more silver shamrock like order of masks. So off they go to Santa Mira, where the silver shamrock plant is.
Is it his store? Is it a hardware store?
I thought it was a hardware
store?
store, but like there's
I thought it was a toy store.
It's just a jumble of weird stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a store that happens to have, like, if it's a place where you would go if you needed a Halloween mask.
It's the Brazilian pharmacy that I use down the street where it's just like, they just have shit on the walls, and it's been there since the 50s.
Yeah. Is that an old box of chocolates that maybe has like 20 years worth of dust on it? Let me buy it for my grandma.
Yeah, there'll be that and sponges for sexual health, reproductive health. Just everything's out of date.
And like foreign soaps and stuff that don't.
But you can also
good.
buy phone cards and spices.
Yeah, exactly. And that
like
little
that.
packet of pills that would give you an erection.
Yeah, it's the best gas station sushi in California.
Exactly.
So yeah, we get the rundown. So it's a small town founded in the 1800s, but eventually taken over by an Irish dude named Connell Cochran, who started up the Silver Shamrock Novelty Company, which is now at the heart of the town. They drive around the pastoral setting, but standing out among the small town splendor is a series of CCTV cameras, which seem to watch their every move. So now they check into a local motel. Dr. Dan sneaks out to the office to have a look at the register, finds that Ellie's father was a guest there. In the meantime, the various side players in this movie are introduced. We get Buddy.
This is a motel / gas station.
Yeah, right.
Weird combination, but then it kind of makes sense.
I wonder if they, yeah. Like, I mean, you could go to certain gas stations and get, like, barbecue.
Yeah.
Or fried chicken.
Chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we get Buddy Kupfer from San Diego, rolls up in his Winnebago.
The American slobs.
Yep. Disco music playing loudly as another angry lady rolls into town, pissed off that her order was screwed up.
And this is Tom Atkins' wife.
This was Tommy Lee Wallace's wife, yeah.
No, Tom Atkins' wife.
Oh, Tom Atkins' wife, that's right.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Right, no, Tommy Lee Wallace's
so
wife
in
was...
reality, he's more of a Marge Gutman kind of guy.
Yeah. Marge Gutman.
Oh, it makes sense.
Which that makes me feel better about the whole thing, actually.
Right. So now,
I'm going to keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
As they're settling in, Dan and Ellie hook up.
And
it is
just.
I will say about this is that she is the one who instigates, which I was like, at least
it's her.
But
that's
in the worst way possible. So he walks into the room and he says, it's getting late. I could use a drink. That's a direct quote.
Drunk.
And then, they have a little sort of banter. And she says, "Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chabliss?" And then he says, That's a dumb question, Miss Grimbridge. And it is so fucking gross because also that is not a dumb question, Miss Grimbridge. That's a legit, because he is your father's age.
Absolutely. And if he were a respectable man, he would have said, I'm going to sleep out on the street, for God's sake. Like, I'm not going to fucking sleep in here.
I'll sleep in
Like,
the
you
car,
just
Miss
met.
Grimbridge.
Oh, it's so... Oh, Miss Grimbridge.
Yep.
And they have zero chemistry.
And him being like, that's a dumb question. I was like, ew, that does not make me horny at all. Gross.
Get over here and fuck me, you idiot.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes me want to fight you. I would be like, what, bitch? You're getting an elbow to the teeth. How dare you talk to me that way?
So, yeah, now at 6 p.m., the speakers around town announced that it's curfew time.
Good night.
This is our Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis as the curfew announcer.
Cool.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
so
I believe she's also the announcer in Escape from New York as well.
She is that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the no talking, no smoking bit. So CCTV cameras ominously scan the city at night. Dr. Dan picks up a bottle of booze and runs into a homeless guy who's got nothing but shit to talk about Connell Cochran.
And this is another one of those moments where it's like, they don't hire the locals. They brought in all these people from Ireland or something. Like, okay, yeah, that's where they're all coming from, I guess.
Sure. All these damn Irish people coming in here.
Yep.
They all wear suits.
To Northern California.
So yeah, but the homeless guy says something in here that's really great. That it's a line that I thought was wonderful. He looks at the bottle and he goes, "That bottle looks a little heavy. Mind if I have a drink?"
And then he follows it up with, "I ain't got no diseases."
I know. He's like, "Don't worry."
Which is actually, that's kind of a weird line, given that it's 1982,
right?
When like people were real iffy about germs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but he just hands it over.
Yeah, he also warns him about Cochran and the TV cameras around town, loudly yelling out about Cochran and the unspecified weird shit that happens up in the factory. Then he stumbles off to his hovel where he is accosted by two of Cochran's suit guy killers.
And he takes the bottle.
Holy shit.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
he just walks off with it.
He was like, bye, guy. Yoink.
That's space work right there. I'm going to need this.
I know. The thing is that like Chalice is probably like, whatever. He needs it. I got a bottle back in the room.
Yeah.
I've got one stashed everywhere, like strategically.
I gotta give this guy some credit though. This actor, I don't know what his name is, but for me, he came in here and stole this movie. Great character actor coming in, giving us this like exposition dump, and then getting, spoiler alert, what I thought was the best death in the movie. This like homoerotic head pulling off.
Yeah.
Awesome. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there is something weirdly gay about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's the way that it's shot.
They are Eiffel Towering, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, because what this movie needs, because there's no character development anywhere. Like, you don't give a fuck about a single one of these people because you know zero about them.
Absolutely.
Within 30 seconds, you know everything you need to know about this guy.
Yeah.
And he delivers and then wanders off. And it's like, that's why he feels so refreshing, because you're like, I don't know what is even happening right now. Yeah, but at least now I feel secure that this guy knows. I know who he is. I can latch onto him.
Yeah, but
he gets his head
I'd be
off.
remiss in my duties if I didn't mention he gets his head ripped off by our guy Dick Warlock.
Yeah,
he does. My favorite Michael Myers, Dick Warlock.
This shot of Dick Warlock where he's shot from the bottom, but the way he's lit makes him look particularly creepy and horrible, because all the other dudes in suits are just like, again, like they're just dead in the eyes, and you're like, okay, these robots. But this is a good like up close shot of one of these guys that is legitimately particularly creepy and like awful. And then when we smash cut to this shot of like the two robot dudes standing and this poor helpless homeless guy in between them, and they're like, it's weirdly gay, and you're like, wait, are they making him suck their dick? And you're like, okay, let's see what's happening. And then you're like, oh no, head being torn off.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it really looks like a rubber mask. Because when they pull his head off, it's like, it clearly is a rubber mask. Like, it even has, like, a flared bit. Like, it's like, okay.
Ooh, but
didn't try that
when
hard.
his body gets tossed off, there's, like, this great spurt of blood.
Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
fun.
Cool.
That's
great.
fun.
And this is where you can see that the little bits of the story do kind of work. Because you have these guys in suits that I think are sort of supposed to represent, like, that soulless corporate takeover culture of the 80s.
Yeah.
And here's this other local guy who can't find work, and they're kind of killing him. Like, it works there, this whole idea. And every now and then it does, and then they just abandon it, and you're like, wait, no, go back.
Yeah.
You had something, and then you walked away.
Yep. So on her way back to her room, Ellie is intercepted by the angry lady from before. They chat a bit about the slipping quality of the silver shamrock masks. Granted, her 4-year-old was throwing it against the wall, but the labels shouldn't have come off so easy. She shows Ellie a damaged silver shamrock label before retiring to her room.
Well, actually, then, apropos of nothing, she's like, hey, if ever you're in San Francisco, look me up. My name is Marge Gutman. And you're like, why? You just met this lady. You don't know who she is or why she's even there.
I know,
Also,
and why are we learning her name? We are seconds away from her getting blasted in the face by a laser.
Which
I
is
love her name, by the way. Marge
Gutman.
Gutman is a fucking chef's kiss name.
By the way, I'm from San Francisco, and she said, my shop is in Union Square. And you're just like, and Union Square, I was telling Johnny, that's where Macy's is, that's where Tiffany's is, that's where Prada is. And I'm like, okay, Marge Gutman, and you're fucking...
Gutman?
Well, maybe she's doing quite well.
Yeah.
Yes. Miss Marge Gutman of San Francisco, you say?
Pardon me.
Yeah,
come
Marge
visit
Gutman
me.
was not written by Nigel Kneale, I'll tell you that much. The other two swingers in the hotel, they definitely were.
Absolutely.
So now Dr. Dan follows up with his medical examiner friend about the burnt remains of the guy who cooked himself in his car. She's confused, though, because the remains of the guy appear to be mechanical, so she assumes that the lab sent her car parts to an autopsy, which makes perfect sense. I mean, she's...
You know how they make that mistake sometimes? They're like, is it a person? Is it a car? I don't know. Let's let them figure it out.
Right.
Yep. So now, Dr. Dan returns to his room to find sexy porno music playing and Ellie waiting for him in sexy lingerie. So
But
they
he
kick
looks
it.
at her. He looks at her with like what kind of looks like disgust. Like he has this look like he's a little bit
No,
mad
I
at her for
guarantee
this.
that he looks at her and he was like, "You packed that ahead of time?"
Girl, your
Just
dad
in
just
case.
died.
And yet she is so thirsty for Tom Atkins. For 47-year-old Tom Atkins.
Either that or she just throws a black negligee in a bag everywhere she goes, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
You
feel
know how
like
ladies are.
that was a thing in 80s movies that like a woman will always be prepared with if she's
Yes.
with a man, she will always have a fun pair of underpants and bra.
Sure, if she's written by a British man in his 70s,
A
yeah.
brassiere and a camisole and a small short.
She's a lady. She's ready for anything.
Yes, exactly.
Now, meanwhile, in an adjacent room, Marge is chilling out to some classical music, just reading some Carlos Castaneda, when she spots the defective silver shamrock tag on the floor. I don't know what it is about that detail, about the Carlos Castaneda that gets it. That plants it firmly in 1982.
And it also makes it feel very California.
Oh, yeah, for 100%. If you don't know who the fuck we're talking about, Carlos Castaneda wrote a series of...
Oh, Jesus, we don't have time.
Series of
Wikipedia.
extremely dubious novels about the time he spent with some Mexican witch doctor or something like that. It essentially it brought like peyote and mescaline to white people's consciousness.
You're welcome.
So yeah, she picks up the tag and fucks with it, picking at it with a hairpin, and gets zapped in the face with some kind of laser for her trouble. For whatever reason, a big, nasty-ass Temple of Doom bug crawls out of her mouth and nests in her hair.
And she gets hit in the mouth. It looks like she was hit by a fucking train.
I love the way this looks. This actually, I was like, ooh, damn. I mean, it clearly looks fake, but I was like, I love this fucking look here.
It reminded
It's
me
great.
of the poor woman in Terrifier that got her face burnt off and shit. The one with the one eyeball kind of reminded me of her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Spoilers.
So
Sorry, I mean 1 and 2. She's in those.
Yep, you guys, you had your chance to watch those movies. They're about. Also, she's literally the first character you see in the first movie.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
In the night, there's a commotion outside her room, waking up Dr. Dan. He runs out, finding an ambulance crew taking Marge away. He offers his help, being a doctor and all. Yeah, but they turn him out. Connell Cochran arrives for some reason, and he assures Dan that Marge is in good hands because they're taking her to their state-of-the-art hospital at the Silver Shamrock Factory.
She's going to get the best possible treatment at the
Silver
toy
Shamrock Factory.
You have an emergency department at the toy factory.
Hello, it's me, the owner and CEO of the toy factory.
Who happens to show up.
I'm here to let you know, yes, that may be Marge Gutman going out in a random truck. Don't fret.
Star
though.
mask seller, Marge Gutman.
Exactly. But don't fret. She's going to our factory where she'll receive the best care she can get. That's why.
Small towns, am I right?
Right.
Before they leave, one of Cochran's underlings tells him that it's a case of a misfire that caused the accident.
The question is, a misfire from what? It's a Halloween mask.
Yeah. What happened?
It shouldn't be firing at all.
So yeah,
also,
now
like 2 inches away from everybody else, whispering into, like, audibly whispering, misfire.
Oh yeah, this is
literally.
staged.
He's like, "Don't you worry, she's going to the factory." Misfire, you say? Why, yes.
Yeah. So in private, Dan asks Ellie if she wants to leave, which is really what they should have done from the jump. But she just needs to know if her father was at the factory. Oh. So,
hey, look, y'all, you did it. You went up there, you fucked someone your dad's age, you got it out of your system. Go home. Both of you go home.
Go home.
Yes. Forget you ever met each other.
Yeah.
So Dan calls his medical examiner friend, who tells him that there's no human remains in the fire. And then for some reason, he asks her to look up Connell Cochran. When they hang up, we can see that Dr. Dan's phone is tapped.
This is when she also says, "I'm always ready for dinner with you."
Oh, yeah.
Who isn't he romancing?
Just ladies just be throwing themselves at the feet of Tom Atkins in this
what
movie.
that
Throwing
dick
their black
do?
lingerie.
What that dick do? Because
Seriously, what does it do? Because I'm very confused.
Well, it gives massages.
Plays a little bit of music. You get a light.
It cooks
It knows
shrimp
how to play
scampi.
Yahtzee.
All of that.
It's a great singer.
Yeah.
You know.
There's got to be a key here somewhere.
Listen.
That's what it is.
Oh, shit. Together, Dan and Ellie go over.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. Together, Dan and Ellie go over to Silver Shamrock offices and learn from the ledger that her father was there and he picked up his order. As they're heading out, they run into the Tacky Kupfer family, and they also run into Connell Cochran, who tries to put them all at ease and takes them all for a tour of the facility.
And this is where Mrs. Buddy is wearing a dress. It looks like she's off to like a New Jersey wedding in the 60s. Like it has like high collar. It's ridiculous.
I said
We all had different ways of describing.
Johnny,
I said
what
the
was
Wild
yours?
West.
And
Wild West.
I said Emily Dickinson.
And I think somehow we're all right.
Yeah.
Yes,
All of us are right.
Absolutely are.
Yeah.
Also, they say that the buddies are there because he is the best seller of masks, I guess, in the country or whatever. And this is like his prize. It's like, your prize for being the top seller of Shamrock masks or whatever is that you get a tour of this boring ass factory?
He's there because they fucked up his order. Because that is... Yeah. So
that's why Marge Gutman is there.
No,
he's
that's
there
also
because
why
he's
he is there,
the best seller.
Because what Connell Cochran says is, we're gonna replace your order at no cost, and everybody's like, oh, isn't he the greatest?
I guess. I mean, he's
well,
like baseline.
Yeah.
To our benefit, or to kind of like redeem us, a lot of us didn't realize that. I will say that that's the fault of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's true, though. Are you sure that's what happens?
Yes. They walk in.
Because they've got plans for the Buddy family.
Oh, sure, yeah, because he keeps trying to order ahead of time, but they're like, no, no orders for next year, and then his wife's like, haha, it's almost like there won't be a Halloween next year.
Oh yes, right.
Yes.
Oh dear God, this movie is clunky.
Yep. So, Mask Factory interiors were actually the Don Post Studios, where the 3 movie masks were actually produced.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah,
Lovely.
so when you see them actually like making the masks, that's them making the masks at Don Post Studios.
Nice.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, we see the process of the masks being made, a weird sort of museum of automatons, as Buddy Kupfer explains all the genius joke inventions that Cochran invented, such as sticky toilet paper, the dead dwarf
gag.
What is that?
I don't
and
know.
the soft chainsaw.
The soft chainsaw.
All of these things require elaboration.
But you're not going to get them.
So much.
Yeah. So speculate away, guys.
Wow.
I would like to know more about the dead dwarf gag, to be
Yes.
honest. It's
because he says it in such a way like, you've heard of that one, right?
You know that one.
I mean,
That's
there's
just a
old
line-
classic.
Go.
No, I was just gonna say you could have just been like, oh, he used to make fake dog poop and fake barf. Like that's what you should have said, not like dead dwarf gag.
Yeah.
That's literally a line in a movie that's thrown out there for the audience to just say, the dead dwarf gag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yep.
I don't know whether to appreciate it or hate it.
Yeah.
So along the way, Cochran gifts little Buddy Kupfer with a pumpkin mask, but he's careful to pick one that's been through the final process.
Final processing.
Wink, wink,
Top
wink, 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 wink.
men.
Yeah. He's evasive about what it actually is and does everything he can to put them off the trail. Dr. Dan notices that everywhere that he looks, there seems to be men in suits just hanging out, being all ominous and shit.
You know, like a regular toy factory.
Yes.
Yeah, so as they walk the grounds, Ellie spots her dad's car under a tarp in a garage and runs for it, but is intercepted by Cochran's security. So now back at the motel room, Dan and Ellie pack up to get going and to finally leave. Leave this all up to the proper authorities. Dan heads to the main office to make a phone call, but he finds the line is dead. Once again, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fun.
I love how delighted you guys are by that. Like every time we mention it.
Well, you're like, oh, she was in the good one. She's in the good version.
I've heard of her.
On the way back to their room, he finds the door open and Ellie missing. Across the parking lot, he spots several of Cochran's men who advance on the room, trying to nab him.
Now that's another. That's another really cool shot.
I do love that shot.
Giving the Matrix.
Definitely.
I thought Village of the Damned.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. But he makes a fast getaway out the back, beats it on foot. Ellie, meanwhile, is in their clutches, and they take her back to Silver Shamrock. So now Dr. Dan runs up on Silver Shamrock and breaks in. At one point, he finds an old woman just hanging out knitting, shakes her violently, demanding Ellie,
Now,
but her head suddenly...
My question is, this is his "Where's the girl" moment. It's like, dude, at best, you are menacing an old woman.
Grandma.
Yeah.
By the way, she looks terrifying.
She is really fucking scary.
What I
looking.
love about it is it's supposed to be an automaton, but it's clearly a woman in a costume.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
Literally,
creepy.
Johnny was like, "Is that a mask?" And I was like, "No." And then he's like, "Where is she?" Head falls off, and I was like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah. And inside there's just mechanical parts.
I'm telling you, clock parts and music box parts.
Yep.
Yep. Then he gets attacked by Silver Shamrock security, who doesn't react at all to being punched in the face several times.
This was funny.
Dr. Dan gets the better of him, though, punching him through his stomach and finding it full of some yellow, slimy liquid and
just
electronic parts.
Liquidy baby food.
Egg yolks.
Oh, it's the RoboCop food.
Ew.
Yes.
Yep. So he doesn't get far, though. He's accosted by security and Cochran, and they take him to final processing for the big third act villain monologue, where he explains that all his men are robots. So inside the lab,
Connell Cochran is like the one bright spot of the movie.
Dana
he
Hurley is the
reveling
best
in
part
this.
of this because he is playing it so hard in this movie, and he is very aware of what he's doing, but he's taking it seriously in a way that is like, okay, I appreciate what you're doing here, because this in itself is extremely absurd
Yeah.
And there was like a reporter or a critic or someone asked him after, like, what did you think of the movie? And he was basically like, well, it wasn't really for me. It was not to my taste, but I sure had a good time making it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
he's
that's
the
what
only
matters
one
in
that
the end, isn't
you
it?
can
That's a good
see that.
sport.
Yeah.
Like, he does what Vincent Price used to do. Where it's like, hey, man, I'm here. It's a job. Let's fucking go.
Give me a paycheck and I'll give you a performance, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So inside the lab, there's the missing stone from the Stonehenge report at the beginning of the movie. Yep.
That's the most ridiculous part of the movie.
Stupid.
I know.
So stupid.
I know.
And then he's like, wouldn't you like to know how we got it here? And everyone's like, yes. And
That's too bad.
Well, sorry, because I've got to go to this area and explain
says-
to you other things.
We don't know. Nigel Kneale quit.
Oh, we had such a time getting it here.
It was a time. Great.
Thanks.
So the stone has a magical force about it. Even a single particle of it is devastating, he says. Then he puts on a demonstration of the stone's power in relation to the masks. The Kupfer family are escorted to a model living room. Buddy and his wife banter a bit, him remarking the silver shamrock isn't taking
And
his
Mrs.
orders.
Buddy's, I didn't think Mrs. Buddy's outfits could get any better.
Carmen
But this,
Miranda.
oh yes, this like clown picnic chic is amazing.
The skirt is fabulous, and Johnny was like, if the shirt wasn't so like crazy, this would actually be really cute. If the shirt was
It's true.
The color
It has
of the
kind of
shirt
like
is
a-
beautiful and works with the skirt, but they were like, let's give you all
The
the
skirt-
frills. You're a clown from the 80s.
Exactly. The skirt is very like twiggy, very sharp. The I'm gonna call it a blouse.
Yeah, it's very much a blouse.
If ever there was a
Flouncy
time to use the
blouse.
term blouse, it's
Yeah.
this.
So yeah,
bless her.
yes. So now the Cochrane runs the final commercial. As the pumpkin flashes on the screen, little Buddy suddenly starts to seem disturbed. Hey kids, everybody watch the pumpkin. Watch the pumpkin. Put your mask on. Watch the pumpkin.
Weird.
Which is a real bad advertisement. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know what you're selling.
Yeah, he falls on the floor, the mask splitting, and then tons and tons of bugs and snakes crawl out of it. And then
Now, quick question for everybody. I don't have children.
Same.
But I did take a couple science classes in high school. To my knowledge, our children, they're not full of snakes and crickets and bees, right?
No, okay. Speaking as a former child, I don't seem to recall ever being full of insects.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Now you have two of them. Are they also not full of insects?
They are I can tell you with certainty, not full of insects, certainly not full of snakes.
Well, I, being the only woman here, am happy to let you know that, yes, we are filled with snakes.
That's a fact. That is a science fact.
Full of snakes. We shed our skin once a month. I know everybody calls it a period, but it's actually us shedding our skin. So, yeah.
I mean, I get that, like, Dino De Laurentis was like, more, I want more violence. But this is, I don't think, what he had in mind.
This is such a fucking bizarre.
But when we were watching this, Aileen actually brought up a good point. So it's like, okay, the children clearly die.
Mm-hmm.
But then the idea is that the bugs and the snakes and whatever kill the rest of the people in the household. Is that the idea?
Well,
I do believe
that's
so.
what happens
That's
in
a fucking
this
rattlesnake.
scene.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happens in this scene. But, like, the world is full of poisonous snakes and bugs. They're not all killing everybody.
Right.
Very true.
It's a bad plan.
Look at Australia. They
Terrible
could all
plan.
be dead by now, but they don't.
They
They
should
live
all
with
be.
those animals every day.
Yeah. So now we cut to a montage of kids all over the country wearing silver shamrock masks. Just
Yeah,
millions
by
and
the country,
millions
you
of
mean
kids
California.
all wearing the same masks.
Millions of kids all over Los Angeles, all wearing the same.
Great montage. Loved
very
it.
It is a
cool.
good. This is probably the coolest part of the movie.
Yeah.
So Dr. Dan's medical examiner friend tries to call him in Santa Mira, but the calls won't connect. She suspects that the pieces she's been examining aren't really car parts, but before she can get very far with her suspicions, she's attacked by one of Cochrane's robot men. He kills her with
Teddy,
a cordless drill.
this is what happens when you get involved with amateur detectives.
It's true, Teddy.
Yeah.
And apparently originally the guy who was supposed to do it, like, actually almost hit her with the drill to the point that Tommy Lee Wallace was like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Oh,
Really?
Damn. Holy shit.
And
Look
and
out for
she's
Helen Hunt.
You know what?
She's
you,
the only
you never
one.
see the drill like going in, even at her. Like, why use a fucking real drill bit?
I don't know. She's the only one that gave any kind of insight into the actual process of making this movie. But she basically was like, yeah, that was the only time I ever saw Tommy Lee Wallace was when he was like crouched on top of me, which sort of it suggests that like, then who was directing this movie?
Steven Spielberg?
Exactly. The summer of Spielberg.
82, summer of Spielberg, baby.
Totally.
No.
When he should have been sleeping, he was making this movie.
Those scenes were probably shot by second unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at Silver Shamrock, Cochran has Dr. Dan tied to a chair. He explains Halloween. This is all very James Bond, by the way.
This is the Dr. No bullshit from what Vincent Canby said.
Yeah, he explains Halloween and his plot. It's all about mass sacrifice for the modern age.
And I guarantee you they got to the end of this, like they had written it or directed it, and they were like, oh, this shit doesn't make any fucking sense.
No.
And so someone had to go in and they were like, here's this big exposition scene. He's a 3,000-year-old witch who hates children. And I finally feel seen.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So they used to do it back in the day in Ireland, the way to control their environment, and it's time again. The planets are in alignment, and it's time for another sacrifice. Then he puts one of the masks on Dr. Dan and leaves him by a TV to wait for the commercial and watch the original Halloween, which...
And the worst part is the clock. So when he leaves the room, the clock says 7:47. So he just has to sit there for like an hour plus and watch network television.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he gets to watch Halloween, but also there's probably a lot of commercials.
Yeah.
And it's the TV edit.
Out,
yeah, totally.
I gotta say though, I kind of liked this is just my second viewing, but as I was watching it, I was like, again, it's like I've never seen this movie ever in my entire life. But I kind of was like, all right, I buy this very vague explanation of what's going on here. Like the killing of all these children doesn't even seem to be that important. He just kind of wants to fucking do it.
He literally says,
I love that.
Samhain roots. And I'm like, okay.
He
sure,
literally
why the hell
says,
not?
what's better than to prank children? I'm like, this is
And
literally
that's it.
Yeah, this is
He's
just a
just
big
an
episode
evil,
of Jackass.
Old asshole. That's
Yeah.
literally. He's just like, I just don't fucking like kids. But
You
also,
know
I
what?
gotta say,
Fuck them kids.
but also this visual of Tom Atkins sitting in the skeleton mask and
Yeah.
Halloween on the TV is so good.
Very cool.
I was like, put that on a fucking t-shirt and I would wear it. It's
Johnny's
so
new
goddamn good.
catchphrase. Put it on a t-shirt.
Again, Dean Cundy has saved your movie once again by making it
Serious.
look really
It's beautiful,
cool.
though. It looks
Yeah.
so good.
I do appreciate that in a time, I mean now, but also I think probably forever, people have been really precious about children in movies, especially
The
children in horror
internet
movies.
recently with Terrifier 3, they're like, killing children is horrible. And you're like,
Look, I
guys.
love that they're like, here's a whole movie that is dedicated to killing all of the children.
Yeah. It really, ups the ante a little bit where you're like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Love it.
All
I'm
right.
into it.
Yeah, clock's ticking. He's got a little over an hour to avert a disaster. Potentially millions of dead kids. So yeah, after Cochran leaves, he manages to kick in the TV, uses a broken piece of the screen to cut through his bonds, and then he throws his Halloween mask over the camera and gets away.
Apparently
Best
that
throw
shot took
ever.
them, it took them like 45 tries to get that right.
I bet.
Wow.
And then I guess like after they had done it, Tommy Lee Wallace was explaining it to someone. He's like, like you throw the thing and he did it and it like got it the first time and he was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, ain't that just the way?
Yeah.
So now he sneaks around the factory trying to call out. He calls his ex-wife Linda to warn her about the mask, but she just
Linda,
bitches.
you stupid bitch.
Just
That
Take
old
those
battle
masks
axe.
off.
just bitches him out and hangs up.
In Linda's defense, Dan is kind of a drunk dirtbag who never lives up to his promises, so I get it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do too. Absolutely.
I'm
Why
on
would she
Linda's
believe
side.
him now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Team Annie. Come
Listen,
on.
you piece of shit. I don't know where you've been in the past 3 days. Your kids have been wanting to go trick-or-treating for I don't know how many times. And where have you been? With whom?
You keep calling me and telling me you'll see me tomorrow.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, my guy.
Yep. And then he busts Ellie out of her cell, and they sneak around the factory doing Scooby-Doo shit with a rack of masks.
Holy
It is some
shit.
real Scooby-Doo shit.
Hilarious.
Top 3 moments of this film. It's the
Honestly.
They may as well have been like, do.
I was about to say that. Yep. So now he sneaks up on a control panel in the lab, forces the final commercial to run on all the monitors in place, and then he climbs up on the catwalk above, dropping hundreds of silver shamrock tags down on the room, which shoots up the place, killing the scientists and security guards and Dick Warlock.
I got a lot of questions. I have so many questions. First of all, how he does what is basically like the Frankenfurter thing with all the buttons where he's just like, like that. How does he know which buttons to press?
Yep, he just...
Also, why doesn't it kill him and Ellie as well?
No, it's just...
Because they're also in the room.
It's just drunk intuition.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's some special effects stuff going on. The Stonehenge stone glows intensely. And Cochran, looking up at the catwalk, applauds Dan's practical joke before the stone shoots him and vaporizes him.
I love pranks.
On fire.
It is such a great death, though, when he is just like...
I don't know how to describe what happens to him, but it's cool.
It's a very like... Okay, you got me, Dan.
I thought
you
he
got
turned
me.
into stone. I was like,
yeah.
but then
He
evaporates?
does. Yeah. He does, and then he sort of fades away, but it is the most bizarre looking image of him when he sort of turned to stone, because it's clearly, I don't know if like it's a double exposure or how they did it, but like it's a real cheap effect.
Or paper
and he
mache.
looks so, yes, that's what he looks like. It looks so strange.
Yeah. Is he this is my... what I think happened. I think he turned into stone, and as the warlock that he was returned to the piece of Stonehenge that he was as a druid.
I think that makes as much sense as anything else in this movie.
Is he supposed to be like a monster or something? Because I thought he was just a guy.
He's like a 3,000-year-old witch. That was the original story.
Oh, I know that was the original story, but like...
They should have made him like Loki or like a mischief witch. If he's going to be like, I love pranks, like make him a leprechaun. Like if you're going to do the Celtic thing, make him like, ooh, I'm a goofy demon that loves to a trickster, whatever. And that would make more sense about like, yeah, let me trick kids into dying and then cool. But no, we don't get any explanation at all. We turn into paper mache. We're sucked back into the Stonehenge after like a weird vagina-shaped circle made of your robot men. Like, what's happening?
That also kills your robot men? And also, more questions from me. If they weren't expecting Dan, but they were expecting the Buddy family, who was that demonstration going to be for? Because that's a really elaborate set. Like, they have this whole 1960s looking living room. Was that just for your own fun?
Or like to test it, to be like, oh, finally it works. And now we can...
I guess.
This is the rehearsal.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
At this point, they were just like, God, we just have to finish this. Come on, everybody, let's just go.
Just kill everybody already.
So Dan and Ellie escape in her car. He has minutes to save all the kids when Ellie suddenly turns on him, revealing herself to be one of Cochran's robots.
Who saw that coming, everybody?
They struggle a bit until he smashes her shit in with a tire iron. And then he's about to drive away when one of her severed arms attacks him. Then her headless body attacks him again.
Yes.
Love it.
It's really like they just didn't want to let the movie go.
Yeah.
You guys, I have to admit,
he didn't see it coming.
I literally turned to Aileen and I was like, I didn't see it coming. And again, I must remind everybody, I've already seen this movie before. And I was like, and I honestly was like, I like it. I like our little quote-unquote twist.
Yep.
It's great.
Yeah, it's cute.
But also, what's the point of turning Ellie into a robot? You already killed her father. Nobody knows where she is, presumably. And now you planned to kill this new guy. Why turn her into a robot at all?
This is their, like, kind of a stand-in for their one last scare.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Carrie White's arm coming up out of the ground.
This is Jason jumping out of the lake.
Yeah. So off into the night he runs until he arrives at the gas station from the beginning of the movie. This attendant must be getting really tired of crazy people showing up at his place.
I feel like this was a great opportunity for a white people are crazy joke.
Oh, yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Then
because he was like, don't I know you?
Hey, aren't you that white guy from earlier?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he calls the TV stations running the commercials and actually manages to get 2 of the stations to stop the ad, but a third continues to run.
The thing about this, though, the thing about their strategy is that this would have presumably started on the East Coast, which means it already would have started.
Oh man, you got him with the logic.
They would have made it like as far as, I don't know, Colorado.
Oh yeah, millions were already dying like as of 3 hours ago.
Time zone wise, this doesn't work.
No.
Not at all.
No. But yeah, like a madman, he begs them to stop it. Cut to black, roll credits.
Hello, I'm just a regular man. Please, channel 1, can you please turn off? Thank you so much. Wait, can you do number 2 too? Okay, great, thanks. Oh, wait, I just turned it to number 3. It's still running there. Can you please? I know I'm just a guy, but please.
It's like, and who do I talk to there? Okay, and you said Susan is her name? Okay. Do you know
so
anyone
much,
else
Susan.
at the other ones?
Susan, I'm so sorry to do this to you. I just, there's this ad. It's going to kill all the kids. I need it to stop. And also, if you could take care of my cable bill while I'm here, just so it'll be easier for me to do it.
It's like TV comes from one channel.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, like, not to be morbid, this is a great fucking ending to this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dark.
I have said in the
fucking
past,
dark.
I've said in the past that I love a movie that commits and follows through on a dark ending.
Oh yeah, like those kids are dead.
Dead.
They're dead.
And their
Along
parents,
with whatever parents got
whatever
bitten by
snake
all those rattlesnakes or whatever. But also, like,
cobras are pouring out of them.
It's also just like the dramatic screaming
into the camera.
Stop it! Into the
because
camera, which is like
he sells it.
Yeah.
It's just half-assed enough that I'm like, God damn, it's so good.
Yeah.
Because Tom Atkins is a decent actor.
Yeah, but like you can even see it in his face where he's like, "What am I doing right now?"
Well, it's also, I think, maybe a bit of a callback to the Santa Mira, to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which ends with what's his face running around in the street, screaming about stopping them.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of it's a good ending. It's like when you get to the end of Night of the Living Dead and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just give a little quick shout out to that gas station attendant who is also just like the drunk guy that we saw before who gave us like the entire story. This is also one of my favorite people in this film because when he drops the guy off at the hospital, he is just like, fuck all of you guys, bye.
And he even says,
smart guy.
So I can go? Can I go?
Yeah.
And it's like, because like he's a black guy who just brought this
and he's
brutalized
like,
white guy to
in all this fucking madness over here. I'm gone.
Seriously.
Loved this guy.
But unfortunately, the rest of the movie, you're like, I've seen this once and I don't remember it because there's nothing to remember.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, it's like that movie Dead Silence. I watched that earlier this year, and I got halfway through it, and I was like, "Wait a minute."
Was that the James Bond movie?
Yeah, I was like, I got like about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and I'm like, "Wait a second, I've seen this movie. I remember nothing about this movie." Yeah.
That's something. That says a lot.
Yeah, it's something. That's for sure.
And yet, it's such a weird movie that there's still a part of me that's like, okay, I get it. I get why people like it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I can appreciate it.
It's real dumb.
I think it falls for me under the category that I always say on our podcast when we come across a shitty movie is playing it silently in the background of a party kind of movie.
Yeah.
Where you're just like randomly like somebody's having a boring conversation and you kind of zone out and you're like, oh, look, it's Halloween 3. And then that's the perfect situation to watch it in because you don't really hear
because the dialogue doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, I guess that's how we feel about it.
Yeah.
I wanted the camera to zoom into his mouth when he was saying, stop it! And I wanted to go in his mouth like, oh no, blackout.
And then there's just snakes
what if
and
he
crickets.
Was full of spiders and
yeah,
that would have been cool.
That would have been great.
Yeah. Prove me wrong. This movie's a clunky mess.
It's just, it's very clearly it's Tommy Lee Wallace directing for the first time. It's the product of like 3 different writers who are all kind of pulling in different directions. You've also got Dino De Laurentis going like, no, more violence, more gore, more exploitation shit. So like it's
and then
just...
people are like, no, and then he gets out that dollar bill gun and just starts shooting it around. And they're like, okay, fine.
Yeah. So
I love those guns.
Yeah.
I must say though, like in the Halloween universe, I fucking love the Halloween movies. I think it does add to the lore of the Halloween universe where we have so many different timelines and like you can go back and you can like jump ahead in the series and everything like that, and then you can, you know, there's this whole brand new trilogy which connects to the first one, but that this one stands on its own but is connected in the universe in a way, so it really is fascinating and is an asset and is a reminder of what the Halloween series was intended to be in the first place.
Yeah.
So in and of itself, it is a special movie, even if it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it helps too that everybody seems to know what kind of movie they were making. And for the most part, they all sort of were like, fuck it, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Like, let's have a good time. Because nobody... In the reading I've done, you never get the sense that like people were like, oh, we had to make this movie. They were all just kind of like, oh yeah, that one. That was a weird time, wasn't it?
I'm going to say, if this movie was an hour and 20 minutes, I think I would have really liked it.
Sure.
Yeah. It could really, it could have used a lot of,
really
it could
sped it, you know?
Tighten it up significantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally, there was a moment where I turned to Johnny and I was like, whatever happened to the girl? Like with Ellie, and literally right after she appeared, I was like, oh, I literally was starting to forget about her. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's it. That's that.
Here we are.
Halloween 3,
done
Season
it.
of the Witch. We did it. We did it, you guys.
My goodness.
We did it. Happy Halloween.
It's the season of the witch.
That's the best part right there. Eileen singing.
The season of the witch.
All right, you guys, we love having you. It's I'm glad that you were here to just muck it out with us and get through this one, because I don't know. This would have otherwise it would have been me and Dave just being like,
what?
It's a movie, I guess.
Yeah, it would have been like when we did the Godzilla movies and we're like, oh, and then that happened, and then there was this other thing that happened, and then the movie ended.
And then Godzilla looks at them
fine.
like real funny, and then Rodan kind of goes like this, and then
yeah.
Those are also very fun to talk about. I love a Godzilla movie.
We did 2 not that long ago, back to
Nice.
back even. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, plug away. What do you got going on? We know you got your pod. We love your podcast.
That's true. Thank you so much. Johnny, do you want to do it or you want me to do it?
Go ahead, do it.
Well, we are Wiki Horror, a Latinx horror movie podcast with Johnny and Aileen.
Well, hi, that's me. Hola.
We cover Latin horror, and it's really fun. We released new episodes every other Monday. We just had a very fun special October month called Tenemos Visitas, where we had episodes every week, which was fun, and we had guests that were very exciting. And every Monday we release a new episode. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/WikiHorror. All of our social media is at WikiHorror. Twitter has some, what are they called? Underscores in betwixt.
Mm-hmm.
But WikiHorror, like UYKQUE, horror. And yeah,
Boom.
Is that it, Johnny? Is that all we have in our lives?
What's your Instagram? Do you want to say your Instagram?
Oh, my personal Instagram, which is thrilling, is at Aileen, AILEEN, Lil, LIL, hands with a Z. Everywhere.
Mine.
On Insta and TikTok and all those.
And mine is at Johnny Elliott, JONNYELIOT. So come and listen, y'all.
Yeah, we talk about all kinds of stuff, and we are nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Now, a lot of times we're dicks, but it's cool.
All right, Dave.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, next week, 99 Cent Rental returns. with the bonkers Jean-Claude Van Damme prison movie in which he plays a French Canadian for some reason.
Okay.
Death Warrant.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic movie that makes no fucking sense and made me laugh really hard the last time I watched it.
It's incredible. I've not watched that one in a really long time, and I do remember enjoying it tremendously because it is bugfuck crazy.
Yep.
Love
and
a
then,
Van Damme movie.
Bring Me the Axe will be back in 2 weeks with a pre-code classic, 1931's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
Ooh, very cool.
We're going black and
Love
white.
those
It's going to be
ones.
great, y'all.
Nice.
All right. Jonny and Aileen, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
You guys are the
us.
best.
We
All
have
right,
the
and-
best time with you boys.
All right, so be back in a week for some JCVD action as we do Death Warrant, and be back in 2 for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.